Chăm people are an ethnic minority in Vietnam with the population of more than 161,000 people. They keep a treasure of unique cultural heritages such as tower temples, festivals and craft villages. Like Botek Pottery Village in Ninh Thuận Province and Binh Duc Pottery Village in Binh Thuận Province, in the southern part of the central region of Vietnam. According to the Chăm legend, God Pok Lang Chan had the merit of establishing the village and teaching villagers to make pottery. To commemorate his merit, villagers set up a temple to worship him as a craft ancestor. Every year, villagers go to the temple to worship the craft ancestor. The characteristics of Chăm pottery are that it is made by women's hand without pottery wheel, mold, unglaze and fire odors, with the simple pottery tools: bamboo hoop scraper polisher, bamboo hoop scraper, coil cloths, shells, tree sticks, etc. The raw material for making pottery is simple, but it takes a lot of time for preparation. It is the clay taken from the fields about 3 kilometers far from these villages. Pottery clay is taken at the depth of 20-40 centimeters from the ground. The clay is black, slightly grey-brown and wet and has high adhesion. If you want to get the right clay, you must follow the craft secret that is only transmitted among pottery makers themselves. Each potter makes his own knowledge through working. The clay, after being brought home, is dried for 3-4 days so that it no longer contains water. Potters dug a hole about 50 centimeters in depth with diameter of 40 centimeters, in which 2/3 of it is used to soak the clay. Fresh well water is then used to pour into the hole to soak the clay for 10-12 hours to make it loose, deeply soaked and cohesive. In the step of mixing soil, potters mix soaked clay with clean and fine sand with a 1-to-1 ratio. After that, they knead the clay with their feet and their hands until the clay reaches certain plasticity. To create a complete pottery shape, the potter must go through several stages. The first stage is creating the pottery bottom and body. Potters will turn the clay mass into a pumpkin shape and gradually use their hands to create a firm bottom on a flat support. Next, they add a banquet-shaped piece of soil to join and develop the pottery body until it reaches a certain size. In order to delete the markings of the joint sealed with banquet-shaped additive clay on the body and the mouth of the pottery, potters use a bamboo hook scraper polisher to scrap the soil and remove the fingerprint. Then they wrap a weighted coil cloth in their hands to scrap and smooth the pottery body and form the pottery mouth. Potters use plants, flowers to print patterns on the pottery wall, use sticks to engrave waves, and use shells to create patterns on the pottery. After the pottery is made, it is dried in the shade to avoid cracking due to sudden temperature change. When the pottery is slightly dry, artisans can adjust by using a small bamboo hook to scrap its body thinly and shallow its bottom. They can also use a shell to smooth it. After the process of making real pottery is complete, potters move it into place under the sun until it is totally dry. After the root pottery is dry and at sufficient quantity, people gather it in one place. They arrange firewood about 20 centimeters thick at the base of the furnace. Next, they upturn the pottery into 2 or 3 layers of firewood, in which the big pottery is below and the small one is above. Then, they put the firewood around. The furnace is covered by a layer of straw. They burn the fire from the opposite direction of the wind to prevent fire from burning quickly and spreading. Potters make color water from the bark of forest trees, the young trees, and the shells of cashew nuts. All are soaked in jars. After 1 month, they will turn into natural red and brown. Right after the pottery has been taken out from the firing, this color water is splashed on the pottery. Under the fire heat, this color water creates very beautiful fire flowers on the pottery. Every Chăm pottery product is a monostyle artwork bearing the imprint of each artisan. In general, both pottery villages have similar characteristics and only a few differences. For example, both the potters have to mix the clay with sand. They do not use the strikes of the paddle and use straw, firewood and rice husk to fire the pottery. Binduc potters do not mix sand with the clay because the clay already contains some sand. When amending the pottery, they use a wooden paddle of striking. When firing it, they use only firewood without straw and rice husk. Nowadays, the traditional pottery in these two villages is facing the risk of disappearance because the female Chăm artisans only transmit their career to their children, and by the time of their maturity, they become the main potters of their family. The people outside these pottery families who produce pottery in these communities are completely ignorant of this pottery art. In addition, many old Chăm potter artisans are passed away day by day. Therefore, many skills and know-how in this art gradually disappear. Moreover, the Chăm pottery brings low income and it is difficult for the pottery to compete with other products, so few people want to study it and do it as a profession. On the other hand, it is increasingly difficult to find the materials for making pottery. The danger of the loss of traditional Chăm pottery is appearing. For example, in the past, the Botek pottery village had a total of 731 households making traditional pottery, but up to now only 10 households. Particularly, the family of Miss Dang Thi Phan still retain this craft. Some other artisans of the village moved to other jobs. In Binduc pottery village, in the past, 335 households used to make pottery regularly. Up to now, only 5 families, typically the families of Mr. Lam Hung Soy and Miss Dang Thi Hong. Although local authorities and communities have applied many measures for safeguarding, such as creating the craft practice space and exchanges, doing promotion, transmitting and encouraging communities to use the Chăm pottery to contribute to safeguarding living environment, these measures have not been so far effective. Pottery making of the Chăm people was inventoried every year and updated on the Intangible Cultural Heritages Information Management System of Ministry of Culture and Tourism. In December 2018, the People's Committee of Ninh Thuận Province cooperated with the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism to organize an international conference on preservation and promotion the value of Chăm people's art of the pottery making. With the participation of more than 150 delegates who are artisans, managers and scientists in domestic and abroad. This conference once again affirmed the values of pottery making of Chăm people, associating with social practices and rituals of the community, as well as looking for measures to safeguard and promote this heritage, which is being in the danger of being lost and in need of urgent safeguarding.